Hi guys, my name is Borrodante, and welcome back to Overpain. And today's patient is Sam. I think I actually have a chance of remembering that. And they're fan art of Rick and Morty, with an unidentified character at the bottom. I don't think he's from the actual show, right? I may be wrong. I've seen all the episodes, but I don't remember him. Can't stop enjoying your videos, they are really helpful. Well, thank you, that's awesome. Anyway, here is an old painting I made for a contest that I didn't win, sadface.jpg. Could you show me what I did wrong in Overpaint? Well, yeah, let's go ahead and do just that. As you can see, we're back to Photoshop, just because I like changing things sometimes. And also we're back to the desktop for the same reason. So let's see. This looks like quite a hard one because of just a lot of things going on in the picture, but I may be wrong about that. And the reason to it is exactly in what I would fix first, is changing the values of the whole composition to point out different grounds. Like if I blur my vision, everything just looks evenly important, which is not a very good thing to have. Like everything is in your face. That's one thing I want to fix right away. Generally, by the way, the picture is pretty awesome. I like the way the faces are, like the adaptation of the characters to the reality, kind of realistic style. Looks really good, I think. The thing I would change, I would probably bring all of the characters to one lighting system. Maybe we would add a bit of a strong, like I can see some hint of the green reflection of the light on Rick right here, but maybe we will do more of that. Same in here, like it shouldn't be such a contour lighting, considering that this pot with green something is in front of Morty, so he should be lit not from the back, but from the front over here. I think that will make things look a lot more in its place, so the eye would just read better where things are. And also, I feel like it would be a good idea to put the main light source kind of like in here, lighting up all the characters from this point. This is a good placement of the light for something like this, when it looks kind of like a poster something. We see all the action going on at the same time, and it's a symmetrical composition, kind of a poster situation. So I'm thinking I'll move the lighting on Morty over here, like this will be the main lighting spot. And on Rick, it's almost where it should be, maybe a bit moved to the front like this, so this area will already get darker and we'll have a bit more light in here, and then the Terminator area will be over here, and the rim light from the back will have a good contrast lighting thing going on. That'll probably be cool. So about the tentacle monster, it looks really complex and sort of overwhelming, but I think that's just because of like I really can't tell what exactly is going on over here, like how exactly. Oh, it's kind of grabbing this head. This is hair of this head. It's grabbing it and getting it out of this green goop. I just realized that, so it's kind of not very obvious. We should make it more readable. It's really important to make everything readable. We need to work on the lighting somehow to make it very clear where the tentacle goes exactly, to show the whole geometry of this grasp very clearly, because that's kind of an unusual thing to have. This is not just a hand holding a gun or something like that, something that we're used to look at. This is a very non-typical detail, and non-typical details require very high precision, otherwise you can't understand what you're looking at. So we're gonna be doing that. I'll probably work a little bit on the pose, because this ring right here, it doesn't read like a typical. I assume the tentacle goes from here, then makes this kind of twist, and then grabs. But generally, you see I highlighted it with the white line, and it kind of looks like a not very satisfying shape, which is actually important to pay attention to. Things should look like, when a tentacle grabs a guy by his hair, this should be the manifestation of the grabbing with a tentacle. Like, it should look just right. The shape of this wavy form, the wavy path of the tentacle should be just perfect to feel satisfying. So we're gonna search a lot of that, I think. Now, what else? I really feel like this head is like almost in the center. I feel like it really should be perfectly in the center. Yep, this is the center. This left eye is in the the center. So we're gonna probably move this head to the left, and not just the head, like pretty much everything will be shifted a little bit. So yeah, these are the thoughts for now. A pretty cool and interesting picture. A lot of work to do here just because of a lot of details generally in the picture. So let's hope we're gonna make it cool. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I started with moving the composition to the left to fix the symmetry of the everything. And then I started just removing everything that makes me feel overwhelmed, pretty much. As you can see, I'm just cleaning up everything. I removed all these details that really break the whole brushwork style. Again, looking like the picture is being photoshopped. So I removed all of it and tried to make sense of this kind of messy spot that I read as some kind of pot, but it's probably not a pot, right? Because pot is kind of a Harry Potter thing, and this is sci-fi supposed to be, so it's probably not a pot, but I mean, we don't really see what it is, so whatever. So yeah, cleaned it up, made just some waves, and made a huge contrast of values between the face and the actual glowing substance, because no matter how brightly lit the face is, it's never gonna be as bright as the source of the light, which is the goo itself. Still not done here. It should be a bit brighter to the edge. Right now it's a bit of a flat area here. We'll add like lightning things later. So yeah, removed all the tentacle thing in the middle. We'll be adding it right now. We'll have to really think through the shape of this thing. Also, I made the Morty's hand kind of like obviously wrapped around by a tentacle. It was kind of a thing in here as well, but it felt more like a little cheaty thing to just hide the wrist, the hand itself, because it was hard to paint it maybe. This is the kind of thing I think about when I look at this kind of hidden hand. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit of the hand in here sticking out, so we would see actually the hand being held by a tentacle. And yeah, of course, I moved the lighting on the faces a little bit in here on Rick's face, and afterwards as well, I started also fixing the length of this arm and moving it a bit away from the edge of the face to make a better spot in here for readability, separating the face with the gun. Cleaned up this stuff a little bit as well. A lot of photoshopped sprayed things. Looks like it's a tomato soup or something. That felt like it needs a bit of a cleaning up as well, so I made it like this for now. We'll add a bit more of something probably, if we have time. Also lighting up the teeth as well, following the whole lighting from the top center. And yeah, Rick has this spot the brightest. Also, I'm adding a little bit of highlights. A bald head always reflects the light source, so this looks kind of appropriate. We'll also add some highlights on Morty's face, but for now I just moved the lighting from the side to the like middle, pointing to the light source over here. Kind of starts to actually like feel like something readable and together. I added a lot of this air perspective thing. This is basically a way I remove something I don't like, and that's what I do in my own paintings as well. If something is overlapping a lot and there's a lot of details that create a lot of mess, in many cases it's a much better idea to just fog away over there, especially in this scenario when we have this giant gooey thing that's creating like a mass of vapor or whatever's going on with that. So we can play with that and remove a lot of details around that we feel overwhelming. All these tentacles in the back, they're really so high contrast, higher contrast than on some of the like main character areas. I'm toning down the contrast. I'll do that more everywhere, and then we'll see I'm replacing the very heavy background with just the soft bright gradient. We'll add some of the streaks like this as well, but probably of a bit of a lower contrast. Also fixed the values a lot on the Rick's coat. As you can see, the color area faces upwards, but it's really dark, while the upper plane of the arm is really bright. Like, things aren't consistent in the lighting. You have to be consistent for it to make sense, you know? And yeah, the reason for that was probably because Sam really wanted to highlight the arm on top of the coat, and everything was just white. It was hard to show the arm standing out from the coat, so the coat had to be darker. But thing is, if you follow the rules of the lighting as precise as you can, it will never let you down pretty much, because in reality we'll look at things that are 100% properly lit and we can see everything, because that's how lighting works, you know? This plane is facing upwards and only this one is facing upwards. This stuff is facing sideways, so it's gonna be definitely darker than this plane, and everything is gonna stand out pretty well from each other. So just go ahead and think about the directions of the surfaces and remember where the light source is to make those things look separate and consistent at the same time. So yeah, from this point, let's move on to adding the tentacle, grabbing the head over here. This is obviously the main thing that's missing for now. So yeah, let's continue. Okay, done. I think it took legit full 2 hours, right? Yeah, 2 hours of pure work. Well, that didn't happen for a while. Okay, so how did I finalize everything? Obviously added a whole bunch of lightning and splashes, as it was in the original. Yeah, I decided on the tentacle going around this presumable pot or something, which is, by the way, still very crooked in a way. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem to be straight. But yeah, it goes around and then shows up right here like this, and there's this green air perspective around it to highlight the silhouette so we would actually see it. I think it works pretty well. So yeah, the green light on the face, I think it works pretty good. Right here it's like really something different is lighting up this face, not this goo at the bottom. So I really made sure that the bottom half of the face is lit up with actual green. Added a bunch of details in the back. They're not exactly super intense or anything, but I think they work out. The main purpose of the background details is to not take the attention away from the main thing. I think it works well in that sense. So yeah, Monster has a little bit of highlights on their teeth. I think looks pretty nice this way. Bottom teeth are just showing up a little bit, like breaking through the air perspective, so we don't see a lot of it, only the brightest spots. So yeah, obviously I could have been detailing and fixing everything for another 2 hours probably. There's a lot of things going on in this picture, but yeah, I think I've shown everything that was needed to be shown. The main thing about it, obviously, is to maintain a good lighting. That's always a good thing to look at when you go for like a full rendering kind of thing, which is what we have here. Never go for all these kind of weird, super tiny, separate textures or separate brushes that have these different textures in them. Maybe photo textures, maybe some generated textures. They will never look good on a painting. Same as I said in the previous episode of Overpaint, always maintain the same brushwork for the whole picture. Otherwise it's just gonna fall apart. It's actually easier to just use one brush, right? As soon as you figure out how to paint any kind of complexity of details with big strokes. Again, something that we talked about in the previous episode, how to draw infinite detail. So that's pretty much the way you go about everything in the painting. So yeah, I did some hint of the hand of Morty right here to kind of make it work properly. And here I only hid one arm, so it's better now. Hopefully, I don't even know. Does it look good? Did I make it better at all, or is it just lame now? You guys tell me. So yeah, I guess this is it. I love Rick's haircut. It looks very close to what I had like 6 months ago. Literally, I had almost the same haircut, only shorter. Oh yeah, nice highlights on the hair here and here. Very rare, very like tasteful, making sure it doesn't look like a cylinder of one stroke, so you just cut away pieces to make it look realistic, you know? Don't do too much. It's always like the worst thing you can do with highlights is make too much highlights. Only this spot, only here a little bit, and that's it. No other bright highlights on this object. So yeah, this is it. Tell me guys what you think about it. I think it turned out kind of awesome. I love the poster-ish kind of style of this. Yeah, this was pretty overwhelming. Like, the parts of the details are really good. The faces are all great. The arms, the overall pose and the idea of the composition is great. But it's just those little things where you should make sure you don't make the viewer overwhelmed with what's going on. Highlight the silhouettes of everything by using this air perspective thing and stuff like that. Make sure things just don't crush into each other on edges. If something's standing out in front and important, the behind area should be faded out and in lower contrast. That's how you make things look good. In here you see all the tentacles are of the same color. They're all super dark. In here I added such a strong, thick air perspective in the back. There's so much more tentacles actually in this picture, but they don't just all punch you in the face right away. You don't see all of them at the same time. Only after a little while you will figure out, oh, there's more of them in the back, you know, and here as well. These are not very readable. I should have done them a little bit darker, but whatever. Also, right now, as I look at it, I would add a little bit of at least some kind of hint of the white coat of Rick, because he's kind of like super cut out in this edge. It feels kind of weird. Maybe even a super tiny something like here. Although, no, that would be a super wide shoulder. Rick has really narrow shoulders. So yeah, I guess that would be it. I feel like this little main spot just needs more highlight. Like, we can read it, but it's like not the very main spot of the composition read it. We should do it a bit stronger of a contrast. Obviously, this is like only a painting kind of trick. You can't justify this physically or something. Like, the lighting wouldn't work this way, but we're not simulating lighting, we're working on a painting. Oh yeah, like, looks so awesomely like it's an actual production level sort of highlight of the main thing in the center. I think it looks really cool now. Yeah, so much better. So yeah, this is it. I have to let it go. If any of you guys want to see your artwork overpainted like this, the link to my Patreon page is in the end of this video. But keep in mind, the queue of submissions is pretty big at the moment, so I don't really recommend to submit because you're gonna be waiting for too long. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Dunk heads in the green goop. Or get them out of it. I haven't figured out what's going on exactly. Is it in or out? Do whatever you want, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Oh wow, this is so weird this way. Should have done that in the process. Everything is kind of, you know, a little bit. I mean, it's not horrible, but yeah, some liquify would do.